Is design school worth it? I graduated from design school, actually university, with a bachelor's degree in design. With time, I can kind of think back now, and here are the things I wish someone had told me. I'm gonna do pros, cons, and then a warning label. The pros. First, it's time to mature and grow. Looking back now, I really see how valuable that was. Time to mature and grow, not just as a human being, but time to mature as a designer and an artist and mature your thoughts and work through ideas. It's just this like really luxurious, and now looking back, I see it as a very privileged thing to have time. The time just to be a student. Which leads me to the second pro. This is exposure. I went to university, so I took a lot of classes that were outside of just a design class. I did photography, printmaking, art history, languages, anthropology. I did a lot outside of just like your classic, like what you would expect design school to be, and I did that on purpose. I chose to go with a university versus a college, which is like you could go with a very technical college, and I chose a university because I realized that I also had other interests, and that just suited me better. Having the exposure to these other topics and these other fields also allowed me kind of just to build an idea of the kind of career that I wanted and experiment a little bit. These school environments also, there's a natural built-in teamwork and collaborative atmosphere built into school. And naturally, there's going to be students that are better at some things than you are. And I remember being very inspired by my peers, and it pushed me to do better. Like, I had some crazy project redos because I am a competitive person in my head. I wanted to have good grades. So I would see what someone else was working on and be like, whoa, like I really need to step up my game. I mean, obviously I'm not competing against them, but it just made me kind of level up. You're gonna get feedback. You're probably gonna end up sitting next to your peers as you're working on a project. You're gonna be forced to collaborate. And I think some of my most positive and impactful memories from school was actually just being in a lab with other people while we struggled through the same project together, being able to lean over and say, how did you do that? Which leads me to kind of the next bonus, or like a positive of being in that type of environment, which is you're going to probably find mentorship. And if you don't have that, you still will likely have access to a tech or experts in their field. So each class or style of class that I was taking had a tech, and to this day those techs, I still know their names and I still think about the ways that they helped me. I know we have YouTube now and we can just like look up how to do anything, but if you're doing like a tactile art and you're like struggling through something, then it's like nothing better in the world than to have someone walk up to you and be like, this is how it's done. And for myself, when I did photography, I did film, so it meant being in a dark room, it meant being in a studio, and having that like hands-on help was really important. In my school, we also had real world clients. So as we progressed through the degree, near the end, they would actually bring in real clients that would give us a real project. And if you landed the client, you actually got paid. It wasn't a lot, but it was something. And through this process, you are forced to present, defend, and explain the reasoning behind your work. And this real world scenario also leads to you building a real portfolio. And not that you need to go to school to build a portfolio, but it helps you understand what is portfolio worthy. It is the beginning of that portfolio, which is you're just gonna need that to be able to land any clients or get a job. So yeah, I think having a very strong portfolio is kind of necessary, and for some people, having that time to develop that portfolio, even understand what is needed in a portfolio and like build that up, is amazing. I'm gonna date myself again here. We had to hand in physical portfolios, like mounted. I learned how to paint with Plaka. That I think was my first project for typography, was like literally hand lettering Plaka. I felt like they put that project in just to weed people out. Like, I'm pretty sure people quit design school or the design program because of that project. Only the strong survive. So the last pro I want to talk about is just learning how to present, how to survive a critique, how to give feedback, because all of these are pretty important skills if you ever want to work in an office, in-house, or with a client. Like, just blanket statement, you need to be able to give and receive feedback as a designer. This is still part of my work, no matter almost any type of project I do now, whether it's design heavy, brand heavy, or not at all brand heavy. Like, I just had to do a bunch of stuff for a client that's more social media, like research related, and guess what? I literally had to still present a deck. Like, they still get a deck, and you have to be able to explain why you put those things in that deck. So I think those skills are very transferable. It's just necessary. The nice thing about doing in the school environment, it's like the stakes are pretty low. Like, it's a pretty safe environment, and you learn to actually just look for feedback and be open to the fact that like your solution may not be the perfect solution. Moving on to the cons. First con is cost, especially if you are going to be taking more traditional art classes alongside your design classes. So like myself, I had to actually take these classes. I took drawing, photography, and printmaking. And as you can imagine, all of those required supplies. So it will be so expensive. You're gonna probably have to print something in school. You're probably gonna have to do something that's like physical, or even the cost of equipment for like a laptop. Luckily in my school, we had a really robust photography department, so I could borrow the camera, so I didn't have to pay for any of that, but I did have to pay for the film and the chemicals and things like that. So just being aware of those extra costs. So tuition plus, and then also if you are gonna be required to take art history or anything else, you're going to have a lot of textbook costs. So for myself, even I'm thinking of like my first year of art history. All right, this is even my original one. I hunted this down at a thrift shop. This was my art history 101 textbook, and I remember it being several $100s. So yeah, added costs, time out of the workforce. I think of the people that just never took on debt, never went to school, and just jumped into the workforce, whether it was through trades or, you know, the creative field, went out and just did it and was self-taught, and they're fine. And I think like it could be very tempting to feel behind on those people, but it's different for everyone. So I think this is why it's important to like ask yourself these questions of like, is it worth it to go to design school? Is it worth it to pay for a degree, whether it's university or college? So yeah, you're gonna have to sacrifice some earning years, and that's just like the reality of it. My warning: the thing that a degree will not guarantee you is a job or income. It's like almost all degrees now. I think what's unfortunate is that it's kind of expected. A lot of people just think that, oh, everyone who goes to high school and should just go to university if they want to have like a professional career, which I don't think is true. No one has ever asked me, do I have a design degree? No one. Where a degree matters or begins to matter is if you are going certain routes with design. So I myself am considering getting a master's or an MFA. I am telling myself this: a master's does not equal having more money or a guaranteed job, because I know for a fact 0 of my clients will care. This is not for them. And most people I work with will not care. If I go ahead and pursue a master's, you know, looking back on the lessons of my, you know, getting my bachelor's degree, the things I would do differently is I would invest more time into the community I am a part of as a student. So whether that is participation in events, maybe helping do showings, it just doesn't matter. I think it's just the participation part and building a community and network that you love. I think that's going to be more important. Finding really great mentors, people that are, you know, several years ahead and doing what I want to be doing. So I think back, and I think I missed a lot of the like social aspect because I was working, because I was really trying to get the most out of my education because I was paying for it. So I was like, I'm not going to waste a single moment. I'm going to like produce the best work I could possibly produce, and I was really hard on myself. And I think sometimes now I'm like, man, maybe I should have just relaxed a little bit if possible. I got my design degree because I was really afraid that if I got a fine arts degree, I would never find a job. And this is the part I think that's like intangible with something like a design degree, is there are so many versions of what it could mean to be a designer. And what I am doing now, I probably would have never have been able to guess that that's what I would end up with. But it was the thing that kick-started it, if that makes sense, because it gave me a portfolio, it put me in front of people, it helped me over time build confidence, and yeah, it's evolved. And I think like the one thing that like university really is meant to do is make you a student. And I know that sounds weird, it's like, duh, you're a student. No, I mean like it made me a true student. Like I am so much self-taught now that it's kind of crazy. Like I didn't learn how to edit videos in university. In fact, I didn't even shoot digital film. I didn't shoot digital. I shot on film for a camera, on my camera, right? So I had to learn how to use Lightroom and editing programs and things like that. Like, in the end, is design school worth it? I think it really, really depends. I think if you are a really motivated self-starter and you're willing to, you know, slog it out a little bit, you might not need it. I think a lot of people don't need it. What you need is a very strong portfolio, because the other side of it, like I guess I could add to the cons, is university didn't teach me how to run a business. And there's a lot of mistakes that I made coming out of university and already having clients and freelance work that I look back on now and I think, wow, I wish someone had just helped me with that a little bit. And I didn't have that mentorship. I don't really remember client work being the conversation of like client work in relation to running a business, if that makes sense. And I know not everyone wants to be a freelancer. I think a lot of people would be well suited to work in-house. And in fact, I think there's like a lot of benefits to go in-house for a while, even just to be forced to work with other people. But did going to school help me become a freelancer? No, I think that's just my personality. I think I am the personality to be a freelancer. Okay, I have to get back to work. But you know, if you like this, just please let me know. I'm curious if I should continue making these types of videos. But if you like talking about creativity, thinking about creativity, reading about creativity, I also do have a Substack, and that's where a lot of these thoughts also live. I just like, I don't think I'm the person to ever frame her degree. I used to have nightmares that I would get a letter and be like, you are missing credits. And so like, I swear to God, at one point, years after I graduated, I dug this up to be like, I got that right. Oh yes. Design school also was like major boot camp. Things they won't tell you is you might stay up all night. You will be expected to memorize this. But here I am thinking about getting a master's now. Anyways.